Hello, everybody. Another month. I know I've had a few people ask me if I've done my tally yet for this month. Last night I watched the 57 minutes and some odd seconds of the April 2018 broadcast from jw.org. A couple of things happened. First of all, as far as the tally, they mentioned Jehovah 96 times. The faithful and discreet slave, 0. The truth, they mentioned 3 times. And I've always noticed through the months that Jesus and Satan are usually neck and neck. You know, they're usually mentioned about the same amount of times, which is not very often anyway, that they mention Jesus. But I found it quite odd that Jesus and Christ was mentioned twice. And Satan and the devil mentioned 5 times. That's twice as much as they mentioned Jesus. And there has never been a broadcast yet that they talked about Jesus more than they talked about Jehovah. Never, ever yet. And I have yet to see that. I will put balloons in my video and fireworks if they ever talk about Jesus more than they talk about Jehovah, and which is really silly because they're supposed to be witnesses of what Jesus has done for us, but they turn it around and say, well, Jesus talked about Jehovah, when actually there's no biblical proof that Jesus ever even said God's name. Father, yes. God, yes. But never said Jehovah. They couldn't translate it to that. But Jehovah's Witnesses, you know, they put it in there anyway, just to back up their doctrine, you know, to make it read the way they want it to read. But, you know, hey. Anyway, that's what I was going to say. This was so outstanding. I mean, they mentioned Satan twice as much, over twice as much, as they did Jesus. And they're getting worse and worse about that, by the way. But the broadcast itself, to me, watching it as an outsider, I see that they were doing a lot of damage control. The amount of people that are hemorrhaging from Watchtower and overflowing blood guiltiness out into the streets of America and everywhere else. They talk about waiting on Jehovah. And they brought King David into it, which King David had a beard, by the way. And most of the men they show from that time period had beards. So I don't know why they have the beard thing like they do. They got this obsession with clean-shaven faces, which... anyway. Waiting on Jehovah thing. You know, when you're going through really bad times, you need to lean on Jehovah and wait on Jehovah. Well, we've been back and forth with the organization and with their members about doing things now to make it safer for women and children in the society, because what's happening to the women and children is basically being ignored. And if you ask a JW, well, why won't you do anything about it, and the 2-witness rule and all that, they say, well, Jehovah will take care of it. But the way I see it is that they've adopted a an attitude of, well, we're not going to do anything about it, God will, when I see it as God giving them ample opportunity to take care of it themselves, and they fail to. I would not want to induce the wrath of God by not doing something about something so evil in my organization. I would stand up and say something. If I found out that a child was molested in the Kingdom Hall I went to, I would take my children and run. I would not keep bringing my children back there when they do not tell you who it is or what happened. When I left the org 25 years ago, my problems began 26 years ago. And my family and me were told back then, even 36 years ago, to not tarnish the reputation of the society, because they called it the society then. But don't tarnish the reputation of society by going to the police, because then the public would find out, and it would, it would hurt their reputation. So we weren't supposed to do that. Now you see, 35 years later, I'm seeing and hearing the society telling these people the exact same thing that I was told 36 years ago. And then at the same time, the governing body is telling the public, and also on their monthly broadcast and in talks and everything, that they have changed their policies and how they handle things over the past 30-some years. But I'm telling you, I ain't seen it. If people can keep coming out of the organization saying that they were told the very same things that I was told 36 years ago, then I just don't see the change. I don't see it. I don't. So when they say to the public and on the broadcast and everything that they have changed their policies and the children are protected, and how terrible child sex abuse is, they know that it's going on, but they personally have done nothing about it. Every JW, if you pressure them into saying something, they will tell you, well, Jehovah will take care of it. Well, to me it looks like God is pausing long enough to give them a chance to do something about it, and they're not. They're not. They haven't. They will not, they said. Which is totally disgusting, in my opinion, that they refuse to do anything. A while back, I did a video of the call I made to the Australian branch of Jehovah's Witnesses. I wanted to find out, after the Australian Royal Commission, if they were going to or willing to make any changes to make it easier for women and children to talk about what had happened to them, by including grown women, like elders' wives or something, into the investigative process, so that they could pass on what happened, instead of this victim being in a room alone with 3 grown men and having to explain to them what happened graphically. It would be a lot easier if they could include the elder women in the congregation to do those kinds of investigation things for the men. Now, when I talked to the Australian branch, they told me directly, and it's on my video, you can watch it. He said, "Oh, we've always been doing that." Yeah, that's what he said. Now, nowhere have I seen them ever do that. No one I've talked to has ever seen that. But he told me that they've always been doing it that way. Which, I knew was a lie when he said it, but I didn't want to say, well, you're lying, because I just wanted him to think that I didn't know that much, even though I probably researched their organization more than their members have ever. Honey, be quiet. Oh, it's Lola. She's crying at the window. She sees the birds out there and wants to play. Be nice, Lola. But it really, it is terrible having to watch the broadcast, but, hey, I have a reason to do it. I want to tally up. If the organization should run across my videos, or some Jehovah's Witness run across my videos, I want them to be aware that they hardly ever talk about Jesus. Hardly ever. Matter of fact, they talk about Satan just as much as they talk about Jesus. But to have Jesus slide down into last place and get more on the airtime than Jesus, that's wrong. That's wrong. So if there's any JWs out there listening, or if the organization sees my videos, talk about Jesus. Everybody knows everything about Jehovah. They've heard it up to their eyeballs. You talk about what Jesus did for you, how he saved you. Yeah, that's all right. You don't know. Yeah, that's right. They don't know. But I think it's disgusting myself. I think it's terrible. I know what Jesus has done for me in my life. I consider myself a born-again Christian. I believe that I am alive today because of the love of Jesus Christ and the grace of God. Really do. I've almost died a couple of times, but through everything, through my praying and petitions to God and my begging of Jesus to help me, through all my hard times, my family stayed together. I never was separated from my children, and always found a way to make it. And I've had some beautiful, wonderful gifts, I believe, right from Jesus himself. But you see, as a Jehovah's Witness, I was never taught that those things could happen, and that those things were real even. Because they say, well, if things like that happen, that's an evil thing. That's not God or Jesus helping you. That's evil. No. You can tell a person can realize if it's an evil thing or a godly thing. You can tell. You sure can. But Jehovah's Witnesses aren't taught to discern the difference. They're kept away, isolated from every experience that they could have with having a good relationship with Jesus. They just don't understand. I feel really bad for them, because if they had a chance to actually not be afraid of the words being born again, if they understood what that meant, if they understood what it all meant, they would not stay in the Watchtower's religion. They wouldn't. There'd be no going back, because of the love that you experience, and the compassion and caring, and you name it. It's all good. And Jehovah's Witnesses are kept from that experience. And I think that's wrong, that they don't have a chance. But there's my tally for the month. And my 2 cents on the beard thing. Anyway. Have a good week, you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.